Vishwa, it's an online platform. An online platform, socials, which everyday change makers that we see around us, who have put decades of work, of their lifetime, their earnings, into making a difference, to serve others, and to make our world into a better place.
Namaskar. Good morning and welcome to Vishwa Talks. My name is Prashant. Thank you all for attending today's event. For those of you who have attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, here's a little bit about us. Vishwa Talks is a space to expand the horizons of your mind. Every webinar, we call experts from different domains to discuss and examine opinions, issues, problems, and perspectives. Each webinar is an interactive session where we all walk away with more respect for each other and a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss a session, please visit our website or YouTube channel for a full library of past Vishwa Talk videos on interesting topics. Today on Vishwa Talks, we will be discussing on the course Community Development. Our speaker for today's Vishwa Talk is Mr. Rahul Singla, and he will lead us through the session in just a few moments. Mr. Rahul is the founder of Bachpan Save The Innocence. He has been working in the domain of children for the past 4 years. He has delivered workshops to children, youth, parents, and teachers, and has sensitized more than 10,000 individuals in the domain of child sexual abuse. He dreams to have a future where everyone can raise their voice openly against child sexual abuse. Before we get started, I would like to inform our audience that our speaker will be taking questions from you after our main talk. So please leave your questions in the chat or raise a hand and we will allow you to ask your question in person. I request everyone to turn on your webcam while asking the questions and for the interactive part of the webinar. Now, without further ado, I invite our speaker to begin today's Whisper Talk. Good morning, Rahul.
Hi, good morning, Tishan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Am I audible properly?
Yes, you're all good.
Great. Okay. Hi everyone. So a very warm welcome and a good morning to everyone. So my name is Rahul and I'm really thankful to Tishan for the beautiful introduction. And it's a fresh Saturday morning, and I'm so glad to see all of you here right now. It's going to be I would say, a bit of mind-boggling session for some of us, and some of us might have already an idea about it. But just to start, let's start with a small question. So I would just request all of you to think of three organizations in your mind which are working on clothes donations, like who donate clothes and everything. And just take 5 seconds and think about it. And now think of any three organizations who are working on food donations or maybe on distributing sanitary pads. Of course, individually. So some names might be popping up in your mind. Now I would request you to think of three organizations who are working on child sexual abuse prevention. Some names might be coming, but very less probability because there are not many organizations working on child sexual abuse prevention in the country itself. So there are approximately, I think, 15 to 20 organizations who are doing, working on child sexual abuse prevention, like Save the Children India, Enfold India, Cry India. But of course, a few of them are working on such a large scale that they have different initiatives as well. So the question boils down to that: how many organizations are just working on child sexual abuse prevention? Very few. But we also know that the issue is huge, issue is large, but still not many people want to step into this issue due to, of course, a lot of complexities which we are going to discuss today. So hi everyone, good morning. My name is Rahul, and I've been working on child sexual abuse prevention now for the past 5 years. My background has been, I've been a BTech mechanical engineer from Thapar University, Patiala. I worked in Capgemini, Bengaluru for approximately 18 to 20 months. Last year in September, I left my job to do Bachpan full time. And so it has been a bit of complex journey from being a person who was in mechanical to doing a job in IT and to work in social sector full time. So it has been very complex, but I would love to run you through, how all this basically happened. I still remember it was February 2018, and I hope you all might have heard about the Kathua rape case, which happened in Jammu Kashmir. It was evening month of February, and I just read the news and I started discussing it with few of my friends. And to be very frank, I was literally shocked to see such a brutal case. Of course, there have been many brutal cases, but somehow that environment was set up that I was really shocked, and I was literally crying for, I think, almost 2 to 3 days. I was not able to sleep for 2 to 3 days because I was feeling so helpless that we cannot do something for the child or something for the society when it comes to such problems. And that's how my journey started. So I thought that maybe I'll start an initiative in my college, a small club in my college. I was in third year of my college at that time. Where we can just teach children about good touch, bad touch in schools. That was in Punjab, Patiala. and maybe we can try to help them out, try to help them with the thoughts and everything. And that's how it started. So initially I wouldn't say I was very empathetic to the cause, but it was just like because I wanted to have a satisfactory sleep. I was not able to sleep, and that's why I started working on this issue. And then around till 2019, end of 2019, I built that club, and everything went nice, build a team. But somehow in our college we have to go for a 6 months internship, and then I was in Delhi for 6 months, and the team was operating in a different city where my college was. And then when I came back, there was an entire set of politics, and I haven't joined any other club in my entire college. I left all other clubs because I wanted to work on this initiative. So building that team and building that entire family. And then when I came back from Delhi to my college, the final year of my college, I saw that there was a lot of politics in the team, and because it was not a registered club, so they basically threw me out of that place that I started. So it was very shocking. It was very hurtful. I was just a college guy, and I was very hurtful and very angry. And I just came back from my college to my home, and that time was, I think, December 2020. So yeah, December 2020. So all this kind of was happening out. And then when I came back to my home, I was sitting at my home for around 1 month, and that was the final year of my college. So it was January 2020, and now I started thinking that I have to work on the issue. I cannot sit like this, because someone did something. It doesn't mean that I can just stop working on the issue. And that's when I came back to my home in January 2020. And sorry, the thing happened in December 2019, not 2020. So came back to my home in January, and then started working on the issue. So the good and the bad thing about my city where I live is Panchkula, Haryana, is that there are no colleges in Panchkula, which means there are no volunteers in Panchkula, which means that it's very difficult to build a team. But fortunately, Chandigarh is a place near to my place, and then I started pitching to a few colleges, and that's how I started a new organization now, which is the name Bachpan Save The Innocence. I feel very glad and very grateful that all that incidents happened, because when I was working in the last club, we had only one program, that was Good Touch Bad Touch program. Now in Bachpan, in the past 3 years, we have around 13 different programs. We have been trying to rescue children. We have been trying to sponsor therapies. We have been trying to share stories of child sexual abuse. We have been trying to create online offline support to survivors of child sexual abuse. So what I just mean to say is that things happen, and of course, a lot of you might have even bigger struggles. But for me at that time, this was a huge struggle. So I'm very glad all this happened, and now I sometimes laugh and just giggle about all the incidents and how immaturely I acted. But it was something very transformative for me, and I really love that all that kind of incident happened. So this was the entire journey about how the organization started, and of course there were more struggles, but we can discuss that maybe later. But now I'll come to a few facts. So why child sexual abuse is a very critical issue. I would love to state some facts in front of you. First of all, boys are sexually abused too. A lot of people feel that only girls are sexually abused, but unfortunately, uh, child sexual abuse, like other things, is not biased. It happens with everyone. So boys, girls, intersex children, any kind of child out there, everyone unfortunately has to face child sexual abuse. So 50%, the start of 2007 says that 54% of the children who have been sexually abused, they were boys, and rest 46% were girls. So majority of them were boys. That is the start of 2007 in Delhi. The second thing which makes it more complex is that 95% of the times the child sexual abuse happens when the victim is someone who is known to the child, or the culprit is someone who is known to the child. So that is the second thing which makes it more complex, that it is difficult for parents or adults to accept that how can the culprit be someone who already knows them. The third which makes it more complex is that only 1% of cases of child sexual abuse are reported right now in a country. 99% cases are never even reported. The fourth fact, which makes it even more complex, all the children who have been sexually abused, out of 33% of them tend to become culprits of child sexual abuse themselves. So when we kind of conduct these awareness workshops, we are not just doing prevention, but we are also helping the children who have been sexually abused, and we are preventing them from becoming abusers in future, right? And the fifth and the final, the problem with child sexual abuse is that you cannot blame anyone. And I feel that is true for any social issue out there. If we keep blaming, then of course we somehow forget the underlying problem, that why is this issue happening, and we keep just blaming each other. When we come to child sexual abuse, you cannot blame children because they are not taught about all these topics. You cannot blame parents because they are not aware about these topics, because when they were small, all this kind of taboo topics were not discussed, and now they don't know how to discuss that. If I talk about lawyers and the POXO Act, that is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, the legal for child sexual abuse, that is not being taught in the LLM course as well. When I talk about police officers, because we kind of a lot of times blame the police officers, but when police officers trainings are being held, they are majorly trained how to deal with criminals, and very less they are trained how to deal emotionally with children. When I come to teachers, they have a particular skill set, but they are also not trained that how to deal with a child if they come and disclose their stories, or how to discuss the topics of safe and unsafe touch, private parts, adolescence, consent, gender identity, sexuality, and all these connecting topics. So the problem is that awareness is missing at every level. So there needs to be a structure where people at every layer, can be aware and can be sensitized on different kind of workshops, and then by a holistic approach, maybe one day there would be very few cases of child sexual abuse in our country. So I would love to be addressing all these kinds of things, because when I was starting Bachpan, I had all these questions in mind, and I really wanted to create an organization where we can try to work on all these fronts. So now let me come to the next part, that what is Bachpan Save the Innocence and what work we do. So hi everyone, my name is Rahul. I'll do that again. And I'm the founder of Bachpan Save the Innocence. Bachpan Save the Innocence is a public trust. It's an NGO, and we have been working on child sexual abuse prevention for the past 3 years. So how do we work at Bachpan is that we work under three pillars, three verticals. The first pillar is sensitization programs. What I mean by sensitization programs is creating and conducting workshops for people at every layer, like children, teachers, youth, parents, lawyers, police officials, everyone, so that they can be aware on the particular topic and they know how to deal with it. When I come to children, importance of safe and unsafe touch. Is there an issue with my mic, or is it fine? Zishan, it's fine. Right. Okay. So, like discussing topics like safe and unsafe touch for children, adolescence, sexual consent, digital well-being, gender identity, sexuality, cyber safety. These 7 topics we have just for children, because if you will not tell them about safe and unsafe touch, they cannot disclose about it. If you don't teach children about the body changes happening during their adolescence, children will keep doing the body shaming things. They'll, unfortunately, we have been seeing that case of menstruation, where a 30-year-old brother uh, killed his 12-year-old sister, thinking that she was involved in some physical activity, but it was actually she was going through periods. Has someone heard that case right now? So there has been a case recently, which has been very viral, that a 30-year-old brother killed his 12-year-old sister, thinking that there were blood spots on her clothes, but he thought it to be that she was in some kind of physical intimacy with someone. So he tortured and killed her. So what can be more unfortunate like that? Because if boys are not taught about menstruation, and these kind of cases keep happening, like how lower would we be as a person, right? So teaching children about menstruation, masturbation, pornography, body changes, emotional changes, mood swings, all these topics are very important, and how they're directly linked to child sexual abuses. Because when you don't tell children about these things, it's very easy for anyone to groom them, because children will feel very lonely in the entire adolescence. So it is very important that we teach them about these topics, so that they feel safe at their home with their parents, with their guardians, and they don't get victimized by groomers or pedophiles out there who can sexually abuse children. When I come to consent, that is the third topic. Children get into intimate relationships and everything, but if you don't teach them about boundaries, in a legal language, if someone gets intimate with each other below 18, that's a sexual abuse. And of course, we don't know, how the repercussions would be when we talk about the biological aspect of the body. So similarly, we have different workshops just for children, and then we have workshops for parents about, how child sexual abuse prevention is an adult responsibility. How they can respond, what are the rights, what immediately they should do if they kind of suspect such a case, or they doubt a child is, maybe getting sexually abused. Similarly, for lawyers, we have legal workshops like POXO, JJ Act, and all other kind of things. So this is the first pillar, where we have been working. Until now we have sensitized more than 20,000 plus people through 400 plus workshops in the past 3 years. And last year only we rescued around 100 plus children in Chandigarh, Panchkula itself when we were given workshops. So that has been the impact here. Now, the second pillar, the name of the second pillar is IBY box. So IBY box is I believe you box. And how this started is when we were giving a workshop, I think back in 2020. I think that was my third workshop in any school ever. And a child came to me and she told me कि भैया ऐसे ना मेरे कुछ बड़े लोग हैं, मेरे ताया चाची हैं, उन लोगों के साथ भी ऐसा हुआ है बट वो किसी को बता नहीं पाए. तो क्या ऐसा होता है कि अभी भी कोई अगर अकेला होता है वो किसी को नहीं बता पाता. एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ पुट मी इनटू अ वेरी डीप थॉट कि this is very serious. Still a lot of people are alone and they have to live with their journey alone, and they have no one to share their stories of child sexual abuse. So we thought of creating a small platform, maybe a Google form, where anyone can come and anonymously share their story of child sexual abuse, so that they feel good about it. And later, we can curate those stories and put on our social media platforms. And when people outside, they'll engage, they'll share the stories, and the particular person will feel very empowered about it, and maybe they can move on in their life. So that was the thought process, behind starting this, and it went very well until now. We have shared more than 90 plus stories of survived child sexual abuse on our platforms, and I think we have around 110 or 120 entries. So we still have a lot to share. So this is the second platform we are working. Third platform is an extension of this platform. So when we were, doing this IBY box platform, the survivors, whose stories were already there, they started texting us in the DM and Instagram that it's not possible for us to keep sharing the stories or keep sharing our thoughts, in the Google form itself. So can you do something that can you connect us to other survivors of child sexual abuse? And actually, that was a very good idea. So maybe we thought that we can start a support group only for survivors of child sexual abuse. And that's the third initiative which we're working on. And the name of the initiative is HOPE, that is Hold On Pain Ends. So Hold On Pain Ends is a support group only for survivors of child sexual abuse. It's on Discord, it's on WhatsApp, it's on Discord for people who want their identities to be anonymous, and it's on WhatsApp for people who want their identities, they're comfortable in sharing their identities. So around we have around 50 to 60 people in both the groups, and what we do is, we invite psychologists, and we invite the psychologist to do Q&A for these people, and we also sponsor their therapies in case they are a college student or they don't have the funds because they cannot ask for funds from their parents because of the taboo of the issue. So we sponsor their therapies. We also do listening sessions with them. We do some virtual mulakate where we share jokes and everything, so that to create a bond of affection, and they can keep moving ahead. So it's just kind of a community which we see in Hollywood movies, where people can sit together and like a roundtable conference and discuss about their issue. So that's the intention behind the support group, and it has been online till now, but it just from my itself we are starting it offline as well, in Chandigarh, also in Delhi as well. So this is the entire work which we have been trying to do in Bachpan, and I know it's small right now, but with coming time we'll be able to expand and do more work onto it. So now coming to the next thing, I think I have been telling a lot of personal professional, but I also want to tell you a few things which can be helpful for you. So now let's start discussing about some basics of child sexual abuse. So when I talk about basics of child sexual abuse, there are a few things which someone should definitely know when we talk about this topic. For example, who is a child? Like, what is the age of a child? So, Tishan, can anyone, like people can type in the chat box? Is that possible for them? Okay. So
Yes, it
I would
is.
like to ask you this question, like, can anyone, just type in the chat box and answer, like, what do you feel? Who is a person who is a child below what age? Like below 14 age, someone is a child, below 16 age, someone is a child, below 18 age, someone is a child, 20, like what age do you think it is? Legally, that someone is a child. Anyone can just take a guess or something like that. Below 18, okay, seems valid. 13, okay, seems valid. Now, here I'm talking about the legal perspective. So when I talk about legal perspective, anyone below 18 is a child. And that's important for you to know, because when you will be handling such situation, and when we talk about child rights, they're only applicable for people who are below 18. Once you turn 19, those laws and those acts are not applicable for them. They're an adult now. So anyone who is below 18 is a child. Anyone who is 18 is not a child, right? So below 18. That is the first thing. Second thing which I want to mention is that when we talk about child sexual abuse, a lot of people feel that it's just physical. But that's not the situation exactly. Child sexual abuse is of three types. One is physical, one is verbal, one is visual. Physical, I mean, penetration into private parts of the child, or maybe touching the child, in a way the child is not comfortable to perceive. So all that is, Trishan, are you comfortable muting? Yeah. So all this kind of sexual abuse are physical. When I talk about verbal basically means is, when you Prishant, I think some noise is coming from your side. Okay, now it's fine. So when I talk about verbal CSA, what I mean to say is that you comment on the child's private parts, right? Or you talk to a child in such a way about private parts that the child is not comfortable with. Or you ask a child to remove their clothes, or talk about pornography in a way that should not be talked to them. The third, when I talk about visual child sexual abuse, is flashing your private parts in front of the child, masturbating in front of the child, asking child to remove their clothes and show their private parts to you. So all the three are in the category of child sexual abuse, and all are punishable crimes. A lot of people also feel that if child sexual abuse is physical, then only it's traumatic. But verbal visual is not traumatic, but that's not true, because the acceptance of physical child sexual abuse is still there. But if a child comes and tells you that the child has been verbally or visually sexually abused, then there are very less probability than someone believes the child. And that makes the trauma more for the child. So that's why I feel that all the three are equal, in a way that we should accept all the three things which is happening around there, and we should not be blaming the child that, or asking them that this cannot be true, or this might be false, and all these things, because it's definitely going to increase the trauma of the child. Right? The third thing which all of you should know is that when we talk about child sexual abuse, and if you ever witness that, or you ever know that there is a child who has been sexually abused, then the POXO Act says that it is mandatorily to be reported. If you witness any child who has been getting sexually abused or is getting sexually abused, you will have to report it mandatorily under the law. If you don't report it, then you are a culprit for the law. So if you ever witness that a child getting sexually abused, you have to call and report that crime. Else the punishment for someone who doesn't report it, like a general public, is around 6 months to 12 months, and of course with a fine as well. So this is something that all of you should know. Now you don't have to be scared that it was not my fault, that well, why will I be in jail if it was not my fault. But that's the law, how it works. Of course it's a loophole, but I'll tell you where you can report. So there are 5 resources where you can approximately report the crime. One is the child helpline number, that is 1098 1098. The way you can remember it is, it's reverse counting from 10 to 8, 1098. That's the 4-digit number. You can call on any time on 1098 and report them and report about it, right? Second thing is, you can also report to CWC. Now when I mean CWC, I simply mean Child Welfare Committee. So Child Welfare Committee is available in every district. You just have to type on Google that CWC contact numbers of the particular district, like CWC contact numbers of Hyderabad, CWC contact numbers of Chandigarh. So you type that on Google and you'll get the entire directory. You can also report on DCPU. Now DCPU is District Child Protection Unit. Again, it's present in every district. You just have to type you can type DCPU contact numbers of the particular district. You can also fourthly report to DM. DM is the district magistrate. Every city has a district magistrate. You can again type on the Google, you can get the name, and of course finally you can also report to the police, right? So these are the 5 resources, where any of the 5 resources you should be reporting in case you witness a child getting sexually abused. Now the next query which comes into your mind is that I don't want to get into so much hassle, because my identity would come out, and I'll have to go to police stations, and all this kind of hassle would be happening, and I have a normal life as well. Why should I disrupt my life? So POXO also says that your identity will never be disclosed. So for example, if I Rahul Singla report a case to Childline Chandigarh, and I say that there's a particular case happening in Chandigarh, And you can of course ask me the information, you can have my contact number, you can have my number, my name as well, but I don't want you to take out my name anywhere else outside. Even the child whom I'm reporting, that child should also know that, should also never know that I reported the case. So your identity will be protected at any cost. Unfortunately, due to political issues, a lot of times names do come out, because the victim name should also never come out, but it does come out. But of course, if you talk about legally, you can of course report the case. You can go to NCPCR if that such a case happens. Now NCPCR is National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, right? So and NCPCR is the the universal the universal government body in Delhi who is working on all the issues. So you can directly report to them. The next thing which you should know is, because I'm assuming that a lot of here are parents as well, you should be very careful that your like children who are maybe around 18 or below 18, everyone is a child. So your children or your sons or daughters should not be into a relationship with any kind of children out there. What I mean to say is, a 19-year-old boy should not be in a relationship with a 17-year-old girl physically. According to POXO, if a 19-year-old boy is into physical activity with a 17-year-old girl, then it's a case of child sexual abuse. Because according to POXO Act, the consent is not valid. A child cannot give a consent. And this is again a huge loophole, because a lot of false allegation cases happen through this. A lot of times this happens, that the girl has, the 17-year-old girl has been brainwashed in such a way, that the family might have to take a revenge from other family, and they have a boy who is 19-year-old, so they get into relationships and all, and then later the girl reports that it was a case of child sexual abuse, and legally the authorities will have to put the 19-year-old boy behind the bars, even if it was all consensual. So this is very important for parents, because a lot of us have children who might be in colleges and they might be into relationships. So be very cautious that they are not into physical relationships, you know, with any child, with any girl or a boy out there who is below 18. So that is very important, right? So these are the few basics of child sexual abuse that I feel you should know. Now let's also unlearn a few things. I feel unlearning is a very important process, because that's how we give scope to learn new things. And the first thing would be, good touch, bad touch is a totally wrong terminology. So I request you all that if you have ever been teaching or educating children around you about good touch, bad touch, it is kind of misinformative in a way, because how do we teach our children about good touch, bad touch? That any touch which you perceive on your body is good touch, right? And any touch which you feel bad about on your body is bad touch. And then you say that private parts, if someone touches you on a private, that's a bad touch. Now, when you associate a private part with a bad touch, which means that private part is also bad. So you already affiliated shame with it. When you affiliate shame or guilt with the particular body part, the child might not come to you talking about it because it's bad. Logical? Other confusing thing is, a lot of times when someone is getting sexually abused, or someone is getting touched on their private part, and especially children, they might feel good about it, because that's the biological response by your body. If someone touches your private parts, the ergonomous zones are there that you might feel pleasure about it. But it was not a good touch. But they felt good about it. Now, isn't that very confusing for the child? Because you told them something else, and now they are perceiving something else. And there are a lot of incidents which I have encountered in my team itself, because 90% of the team in Bachpan are themselves child sexual abuse survivors. So they have been in this guilt for many years, that when they were getting sexually abused, they had an orgasm. So they felt very guilty that it might be a possibility that they enjoyed it. But that's not true. Having an orgasm is just a biological reaction by your body. It's just like, you might hate a particular type of food, and I forcefully put it into your mouth. So your body will digest it, but you didn't like it. So you didn't like this sexual abuse part, but orgasm was just a biological reaction by the body. So the child, it might not be safe for the child to getting touched on the sexual abuse or physical things, but it is kind of pleasurable for them. So the better terminology is using safe and unsafe touch. So when we go to schools and when we teach people about unsafe touch, what we tell them is that unsafe touch is of two types. One unsafe touch is that you are the owner of your body, आप अपनी body के मालिक हो. And anyone who touches on your body and you feel uncomfortable, now we have to affiliate uncomfortable with emotions as well. So you put a range of emotions for them, emotions like you feel weird, you feel bad, you feel sad, you feel angry, you feel anxious, all these kind of emotions. So agar aisa hota hai, this is unsafe touch. Also, if someone touches you on your private parts and you might feel good about it, but it's still unsafe touch, right? And you also give them the reason that why it is unsafe touch. Because this is not the right age for them to get involved into physical activities or penetration, because their body is not ready for it. Because that's the actual reason. It's not bad. It's just that they're not ready for it. So we have to kind of unlearn good touch, bad touch, and use safe and unsafe touch. Now, second thing is, a lot of times, parents and children and adults also feel very skeptical about using the correct nomenclature. So what I usually see in schools is that how teachers have been teaching in schools is that there are four private parts. One is lips, second is chest, third is part between the legs, and fourth is hips. Now, part between the legs is a totally wrong terminology, because again, when you're saying part between the legs, this word in itself is very curious for the child, that what part within the legs. So they'll try to explore it. And when they'll try to explore the internet, they'll get all kind of wrong things and maybe wrong and misinformation. So you should be very, open in discussing the exact terminology, like penis for boys, vagina for girls, or maybe gender neutral terms like genitals. Now the question might be, how to teach a child who is in class one or pre-nursery about, penis, vagina, because they don't know exact ABCD as well. So what we do in such schools is we use the terminology of susu place and potty place. So people who are aware about Hindi and who have been conversing in Hindi, this is a very normal, language which parents use, that, you went for susu or not, you went for potty or not. So potty place, susu place is something the children know. So that would be very helpful for them, so that in future, if any case of CSA happens, they can directly come to you and tell you that what exactly has been happening, right? And that also doesn't affiliate shame and guilt with the part, because you openly told them what the body part is, right? The third thing which we have to unlearn is that we should understand that children are very curious, like very, very curious. And whatever children ask you when they're very small, when they're toddlers, or maybe they're in the very few small age, they are asking everything out of curiosity. Like you might have seen a lot of children, play this game of doctor, doctor when they are small. But we never try to understand why they play this game. Let's imagine a scenario that when children are small, they know that there's a body part which everyone is covering every time. Parents also, like parents and everyone in the home is covering every time. And whenever the child, because children very, they like to have a bath and they like to roam naked in the house. And whenever they, roam naked, then we say shame, shame, poppy shame. Again, they feel curious that what is about this body part that, is making it shameful, or why, parents are emphasizing so much on this body part. Even, a lot of children, pee on the floor and they love playing on that. And then again, we pick them up and they say, chi chi, what are you doing, and everything. So we ourselves unintentionally have been stressing on this body part from the very childhood. And we also expect children to not ask about this, and that is not possible. So you have to be brave enough to answer the queries. And if you will not answer, they'll try to ask either from their peers, and or either they'll search it from the internet. And imagine if you search, on internet, like what is a penis, what is a vagina. The top searches would be about size of penis, vagina, the color, and that's where the misinformation starts. And that's how the children also get into situations of pornography as well. I don't know if you have heard that there are a lot of cases where, a 7-year-old child sexually abused a 2-year-old boy or a girl. There have been a lot of cases. A 4-year-old, a 5-year-old child sexually abuse a 1-year-old girl or a boy. How can this happen? Maybe we'll discuss that if we have time, but these cases do happen, right? So these are the few things which we need to unlearn. And now I'll most probably come to my last topic, and that is that how to respond if a child comes and discloses about child sexual abuse to you. So there are different ways, but just recently, the RET team gave me a very good pointer. So we call it the 5 C's. That there are 5 C's which you can remember that, and you can always take care in mind when you have to respond to any child who has been sexually abused. So the 5 C's are: first is be careful, comfort, commitment, confidentiality, and contact. So be careful with what kind of words you're using in the front of the child. For example, you cannot say to the child, ki, why didn't you come to me back then? Why did you go there? It was your fault. How could this happen? He's or she's your chachu or chachi. You should remember that first of all, it's our fault that we didn't educate the child about all these things. And out of somewhere, the child has to do a lot of struggle in searching and in letting themselves know that what was happening to them. And then they came to you. And then getting such a response can be very disheartening for them. So you have to be careful about what you say. Second, you have to comfort the child. You have to be very empathetic. You have to be very caring and affectionate when the child comes and seeks for such kind of support. Third is commitment. You have to commit to the child that you're not sure about the justice thing, but whenever the child needs you, you'll try to be there. You have to commit your support to them. Fourth is confidentiality. You will take care that the privacy or the experience or the incident doesn't go out or doesn't go to a third person until the child wants to, share that to someone else. And the fifth is contact to people for support. You can contact to counselors or therapists who can do the child's therapies. You can contact childline or government authorities and you can report the case. So these are the 5 C's. Be careful, comfort, commitment, confidentiality, and contact. So when you will be taking care of, I think, a few of these things, a lot of things will get easy for you. And that was the entire just a gist of child sexual abuse that I wanted to tell you guys. And the one conclusion I want to give in then before I summarize my workshop is that I think it's not very difficult issue. It's of course a complex issue, and what makes it even more complex is that people are not working on it on an individual level. When parents, teachers, lawyers, everyone decide to get themselves educated on this, even through the internet, then I don't think there would be space for organizations out there that they have to specifically put a lot of efforts to work on this issue. And that I think goes for any kind of issue out there. So the simple thing is just if you have a doubt, don't shun your child away. If you have a doubt, just search it on the internet. There are a lot of resources and you'll definitely get something to educate your child. So that's it. I hope you all had a good session. I'm really glad. And thanks so much, Trishant and Team Vishwa Foundation. So yeah,
Thank
we
you
can.
so much. Thank you so much, Rahul. Uh, I'm pretty much enlightened about a lot of cases and circumstances that we experience. Uh, and now I pretty much know how to go about it, whom to complain to. Thank you so much for that information. I'd like to call upon our founder, Shivani Munapuri, to take the session forward. Namaskaram.
All. Before I start, I would now like to request the audience to take a 30 seconds to answer a poll for us. The purpose of the poll is to help us understand you a little better, so that we can better curate the topics that we bring to you. You can also let us know in the chat box or any particular topics you want us to talk about and how you found out about Vishwa Talks. If you are a Vishwa Talk subscriber, heard about it through friends or family, or found out about it on the social media, please let us know. I would like to express my gratitude to each of the participants who joined us today with your presence. You are free to ask as many questions as you want. Most media of late is polarized. So we are coming out in Vishwa Talks where we bring in awareness about topics and leave it to you to make your own opinions and get all your doubts clarified with the speaker. So thanks again to each of you. I extend my gratitude to our respected speaker, Mr. Rahul Singla, for taking time to talk to us and educate us on this topic. Having children in the family, most Indian families are big. There is always someone out there. And every time, you are a mother and you're a grandmother and still your doubts keep cropping up. And when you told us, Vishwa probably had 2 talks already on child sexual abuse. And yet, when you speak, I hear new points. And Vishwa is giving importance to this topic because Our children are our future, and we need to protect them. I'd like to share a little bit about what we do at Vishwa, our mission, and how you can contribute. Vishwa is an online platform for everyday change makers and social champions. It's a crowdfunding and crowdsourcing platform. Change makers like Rahul Singhlaji, who's actually, at such a young age, given up his career to work on a very noble cause. These are the change makers who need to be shown to the public. These are the change makers who are making a difference. We need to be proud of them. We need to encourage them. We need to support them. So Vishwa not only brings in the Vishwa Talks to show the work they're doing, but we also have a crowdsourcing platform where they can raise funds for the work that they're doing. This Vishwa is aimed at helping anyone to find the support they need in their efforts to fulfill the dreams for themselves, for others, and to make our world a better place. In addition to thought-provoking talks, such as the one hosted today, we also extend the curiosity of exploration to our youth, young ones as well. We have launched 2 new segments of Vishwa Talks, namely Vishwa Talks Youth and Junior, to facilitate learnings among and important conversations in the bright minds of our new generation. Please free to ask any of the schools you're in touch with, or the colleges or youth centers that you are in touch with Vishwa. We will conduct talks with them. Ensure all the schools and the children that you know subscribe to Vishwa Talks Junior today. Next, there is Vishwa Materials, and we have successfully completed a few material drives. In India, all of us in Hyderabad, for example, there are 160 slums. And in Ugadi, we were able to collect clothes or toys or furniture or electronics from the surrounding areas of Hyderabad. We provided around 4 to 5 trucks of the old stuff to 3 to 4 slum areas out of the 150. And the response was tremendous. Most surprisingly, most of these slum areas have children who are actually completing their degrees. And these kids, when they were given these good clothes, they said, hey, lucky we got a whole year's requirement of clothes taken care of. And we don't need to spend that money to buying clothes. Vishwa Materials is a crowdsourcing platform designed to distribute material to our local communities. All you have to do is list your unused clothes or the gently used materials in Vishwa. You will be grateful to declutter your homes of things that you no longer need, as well as give them to someone else who needs them more. The idea is that nothing goes to waste. There is something for everyone. It is a crowdsourcing platform for local communities to list and exchange items for free. Fundraisers. We had a few fundraisers which were successful. There are 2 things. There is also the food. We donate food every Friday at NIMS. We have noticed that people come as far as from Assam, Madhya Pradesh to these government hospitals for their near and dear ones being taken care of. They have no homes to go to cook food. And the little money they have, they want to save it up for the curing of their own relatives. So most times they don't eat food. Vishwa gives free food to these people, and it doesn't cost much. Just spending 3,000 rupees gives food, a meal for around 100 persons. If any of you all are interested in giving food on your child's birthday or anniversary or your mother's anniversary, please feel free to participate in it. Similarly, we have a lot of fundraisers on our program, Karnashray Foundation, Bal Vikas Educational Society. most of us see that in our society, in our family circles, in our friend circles, there are one or two people whose kids are disabled or have autism, and the parents, however educated they are, just keep their careers aside and are in service of those kids. These organizations, like for example, Kanashray, it's in Rajahmundry, Andhra Pradesh, is dedicated to helping specially abled children from underprivileged backgrounds. So the parents come and leave the children here. So what Kanashray is requesting is, if you can adopt one teacher, pay 10,000 every month, or anybody else that who can do that, or donate for a meal, 3,000 to 6,000 rupees every month if you can do. And if 30 people get together and donate, that particular organization is taken care of. If you can do it, great. If you know people who can do it, please connect us with them. We'll ask them. We have nutrition, donating nutrition food for children living with HIV and AIDS. There are around 2,300 children living with HIV. Most of these children have gotten it from birth. The lack of general awareness about HIV has forced these children with HIV into the worst form of child labor, just to support themselves. To give back these children their childhood they've lost, the network of Telangana people living with HIV and AIDS has been providing nutritional food packets to hundreds of children every month. They're looking for you to support. Each food packet is only around 1,800 rupees. It has rice, it has oil, it has pulses, the basic requirements for a month. 1,800 rupees for 30 days. Please feel free to donate or let people who can donate. We have our upcoming talks. One is community development by Maitreya Rudrabayananda from the organization Soul Searchers and Universal Center for Spiritual Research and Development. The topic he's going to cover is Transform Your Life with Conscious Awareness. This is on May 20th, 2023. We have another talk coming by Ms. Pankti Goyal. It's from organization Empower Now. She's the founder CEO, and the topic is prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces. It's on 27th May, 11 a.m. We request that all of you pass it on to friends and family who you feel the awareness in these topics would make a difference to. As sometimes on sensitive topics, our ads are getting blocked on Facebook. So any questions, please feel free to ask. So there is a question. Children are very curious, you said. So if a 3-year-old comes and says, I want to see your butt, I want to see this part of your body, how do you react to it?
Right. So, firstly, Shivani ji, the thing is that how you react is firstly very important. So if you say chi, what are you talking about? So there itself you lose the child, right? So you have to start explaining the child there are certain parts which are known as private parts, right? And they're private for a reason, because you can touch them, you can feel them, you can see them whenever you are alone. You are into a private space. But when you are with people around, then these body parts should be covered. It's more like why don't you eat 10 to 15 chocolates in a day? It's not good for your health. So similarly, you explain them. You explain them about butt. You explain them about penis. You explain them everything. The simple answer to this question would be that you should not be uncovering certain body parts when you're outside in the public. But whenever you're around, you can touch them. You can see them. That's totally up to you. Because a lot of time, just recently, a 20-year-old girl, from the team itself, she told me again that the first time she ever saw vagina, her own body part, was when she was 16-year-old. How can you even take care of a body part which you have never seen? Because there has been so much shame attached in her family about these body parts. She belongs to an orthodox family. So touching vagina, penis, and all these things, it's such a taboo. So whenever a child is 2 or 3 year old, you should be very openly talking to them about the body parts. They'll also ask you कि मम्मा आप वॉशरूम में जा रहे हो, आपने दरवाजा क्यों बंद कर रखा है, right? They'll ask you मम्मा ये कपड़े पहनने की क्या need है. So you should be very clever enough to give them certain amount of answers to a certain extent, and then जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होंगे, then you can of course give them the detailed answer.
So what do you say when they say, no, I want to see, I'm a boy and I want to see how a girl looks?
राइट. सो उस केस में जस्ट हैव टू सिंपली टेल देम, जैसे मान लो कि कोई अगर बच्चा है, देयर इज अ बॉय, द बॉय इज आस्किंग यू दैट आई हैव दिस प्राइवेट पार्ट पीनिस, ठीक है, एंड मुझको देखना है कि गर्ल्स में कौन सा बॉडी पार्ट होता है, प्राइवेट पार्ट होता है, राइट? सो इन दैट केस व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन do a visual presentation for you which is easily accessible on internet, and you can explain them the body parts. उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. And then you also explain them ki the way I never ask you to that you show me your private parts until it is necessary, कि अगर आप बीमार हो, डॉक्टर के पास लेके जाना है या आपको नहलाना है, then only I ask you to show, then only I can touch you or I can see your private parts. So the way I respect your boundary, similarly you should be respecting my boundary. At the same time you should also be educating them कि होता क्या है.
Children, by nature of curiosity below 4 to 6 years, want to see, want to touch, want to feel, want to taste. So how do you curb all this?
You don't have to curb all of this. You never have to curb the curiosities of the children. You just have to just tell them that of course there is a age appropriate answer for all the situations. For example कि जैसे अभी आपने मुझसे पूछा कि वो बट वाला the query the child had, so you don't have to curb the thing. You have to answer them to a certain extent and tell them कि बाकी की चीजें I cannot tell you right now because आपको समझ ही नहीं आई.
Okay. One question from Yashashwini. Some girls have had mental breakdowns because they thought they had menarche, that their menarche was cancer.
Didn't get you. Their dash was cancelled.
Neither did I
Question
get
is
the
answered.
question. I didn't get the question. Also, okay, we'll go to the next. Grooming the child can also be counted as verbal and visual sexual abuse.
So grooming is itself not child sexual abuse. Grooming is a process towards child sexual abuse. So those of us who don't know about grooming, so grooming is simply when there are people out there and they understand the child's vulnerability or insecurities, they try to understand that, and they also know that the child is lonely at that particular time, which happens normally in adolescence. So for example, a child is very concerned about the body or the color, or maybe the way the people have been treating them. So the simple thing is that the child, when the child is insecure, there are people out there who will spot these insecurities. They'll make a bond with you, and then they will cut your threads with your family. They'll start blackmailing you, starting bit of asking your photos and everything. Then eventually the intention is to sexually abuse the child. So grooming is not child sexual abuse. You cannot legally say it's child sexual, but it's a process, and it's one of the major ways how children are sexually abused in a country. And the simple solution is, like Shivani was saying, the simple solution is you have to simply answer the questions of the child, because when they don't answers, then they'll be closer to the family itself. जब बच्चे परिवार से दूर होते हैं तभी उनको कोई ग्रूम कर पाते हैं, else नहीं.
Next question is from Srivastav. You said there were 5 C's: careful, comfort, commitment, confidentiality, and contact. What do you mean by contact?
Contact is just contacting the right authorities for him.
Got it.
For example, yeah.
Yeah. You have some acknowledgements from Ms. Urfi, Anjali, useful, very informative workshop. Thank you. Excellent session. Found it very interesting and informative and eye-opening. Another question from Ms. Chitra Santosh. Have many takeaway? Thank you once again. Have many takeaways. Then a lot more acknowledgements. I'm not going to into them. From Saroj Mishra ji, from Nimisha Patel, from Nargis Shah, Nargis Sheikh, Anjali S, Chitra Santosh, Hina Digant Pandya, Dolly Patel, Okay, there's one more question from Ms. Sabita Shetty. How can we empower the child to resist or say no?
Right. So empowering the child is not a one-day episode. Firstly, it's an entire process, and of course, it starts with building the bond with the child. So as we have been discussing, and this is actually very important. You should be genuinely answering everything the child asks you, because the day you start doing that, the child knows that whatever happens, I can come to the parent. So the first thing is to answer whatever they ask you. Never shun them away. Second thing is, just separating that shame from these private parts, not creating shame and guilt about these conversation and about these private parts. Third, teaching them age appropriate things. When they're small, safe and unsafe touch. When they grow, discuss with them what is masturbation, what is pornography, because they'll find out from somewhere. But you teaching them would be very eye opening and very nice for them. So a simple key is you make a bond with the child, you answer their queries, you know, you make an environment such a safe place that the child can come to you. And then finally, then you'll be able to empower the child. So it's an entire process. It's not that कि आप ऐसा करोगे तो empower हो जाएंगे. It has to be in this way only.
What do you do when the child goes and touches the breasts of other women other than the mother or the grandmother or the immediate family, but just to go check and see and feel and curious? How do you respond to that?
Of course, so if it has happened, it depends upon firstly upon the age of the child. If
Two
that's
years,
a
3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, of course. So if that's a 2 year child, 3 year child, you should not be scolding the child firstly. You should not be saying ki, because a lot of times I see that the parents slap the child. What are you doing? Or you cannot slap the child for something that you didn't tell them, right? The simple response should be that ki bache, you should not be doing this. Come here, take them on a side, explain them why the child should not be doing this. And always use this example that I don't touch your private parts. I don't touch your penis when you're in public, because I respect you. And similarly, you should be respecting others as well. So इस तरह से हम explain कर सकते हैं बच्चे को.
That's a fantastic guidance. Okay, I'm noting down what you're saying. There is one statement made by Mr. Surupneni Prasad. For those of you who may not be aware, it is heartwarming to note that we have Barosa centers at Hyderabad under SHE supervision of Telangana Police for a holistic resolution of problems related to distressed women and children, particularly sexual abuse. And Prajwala by Mrs. Sunita
Sunita Krishnan.
is doing a great job. Yeah, again, there are a lot of acknowledgements. I'm missing out. I'm skipping them. Then is Menash is getting periods?
I am not sure about that. I know
So
about periods, but yeah.
it's relevant to a question that was previously asked that we got confused about from Chitra Burma, I guess. Let's just check it. And
Okay, there's another statement made here by Ms. Vandana. It is more about educating the parents as teachers. If sometimes the school educates, sometimes the parents do not like the idea of sensitizing children. Another question. By Ms. Anjali, our counselor is doing her job at school, but do you think orienting parents would help?
Of course, of course. So I think equally sensitizing parents and teachers are very, very important. I think it's even more important than you educate a child. Because ultimately they will have to come of either these two people for help. So it's very important that you do age appropriate workshops and you train parents and children mentally and of course with the legal knowledge when such a situation might come.
Okay, one question from Ms. Anuradha Naidu. Thank you for a wonderful session. At a young age, you're doing a wonderful job. God bless you. My query, how do you protect your child from other children's abuse and access of porn?
Right. So these are, I think, two questions. Firstly, do you know that how you protect your child from other abuses is simply that you have to create that environment, and you have to create that prevention techniques. That when we go to schools, we teach children about this rule of SRT rule, that whenever you feel uncomfortable, that you can shout, you can run, and you can tell someone whom you feel is safe. in case such a situation might come, right? And second thing, of course, is that you can prevent a lot of things, but you can also not prevent a lot of things. But what matters is that does a child is coming to you after such an incident, because that is more important. And that foundation, has been laid by what we have been discussing recently by picking a bond with the child. And now coming to the second part of the question, what was the second part? uh, Excess of porn. Okay. So this becomes very important when a child gets into the age of class 4 and 5. You should be openly telling them about pornography. If you will say that don't watch pornography, they'll of course and see it. They'll go and see it. Of course, that's the mentality. So you should be telling them that why they should not be watching porn. You should tell them that that would be a clash of opinions, because I tell you to respect everyone, but in pornography it is opposite. I tell you to take consent of anything you do, but in pornography it is opposite. I tell you to respect everyone's body, and that there is no ideal body figures. People can be fair, people can be dark, people can be fat, people can be thin, all kind of people are there. But in pornography movies it is not that way. So why I'm not asking you to watch porn movies, because it will be a clash of opinions. But what I'm telling you and what you see in the movies, and that's not right for you right now. It's going to create a psychologically impact on the child, and this is also one of the reasons how a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old boy or a girl can sexually abuse a 1 or 2 year child, because they watch porn, they see that there is no consent, they see it's kind of a game, and they see that oh everyone is enjoying, so they try and implement the same thing on a smaller child as well. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, I've seen that boys do the same with their sister, and the reverse can also happen when they watch pornography at a very young age.
Especially now with the telephones being available, and right from the maids to the boys to the drivers to the painters who are painting, everybody is watching porn. And kids just go out of your apartment for just going down, going up. There's so much of fear for a
Correct.
parent, for a. How do you deal with this?
So this puts me into a very good question that I was once in a workshop. I hope we have some time.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So I just want to say that the session is complete. Thank you to each of you who have attended the session and made this a very successful session. Each of you who would like to continue with your question and answers, please do continue. The speaker will be generous enough to answer all your questions. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, sure. So, I was once in a workshop and a parent, came to me and asked me that, सर ऐसे पॉसिबल कैसे है कि हम अपने बच्चे को फोन से एडिक्शन हो गया है, तो what should we do, because बच्चा फोन देखेगा and so the child will be seeing a lot of things. So the first question I usually ask children is that when the child was around 1 or 2 year old and you were busy doing your household chores or maybe jobs and everything, how do you used to quieten the child, or how you used to keep the child busy? So they used to say that हम एक YouTube पे वीडियो चला के दे दिया करते थे. So now if you were the person who gave the phone to the child for a couple of months or a year, and then how is it possible you can take phone away from the child after after 2 or 3 years? So that's not possible. And second thing is, giving your own phone is very very dangerous for the child, because आपके phone में बहुत कुछ adult हो सकता है. You might have WhatsApp chats, उसमें कुछ आपके groups होंगे, कुछ funny groups होंगे, you might have a lot of images and all these things. The preferred thing is you buy a simple phone for the child in case you genuinely feel कि बच्चे को एडिक्शन हो गया या बच्चे को नीड है ही है, और दोज वो गाने वाले जो फोन्स आते हैं, दोज हैव रिंगटोन्स एंड एवरीथिंग, बट नेवर एवर गिव योर ओन फोन टू द चाइल्ड. That's the first thing. That's how you can prevent overexposure. The second thing which you were asking, Shivani, is it basically depends upon the monitoring, monitoring the entire society where you are living. कि जो PN हैं या फिर जो caretakers हैं, if they're openly watching pornography, of course there is no way कि आप उनका background check कर सकते हो, but there has to be some monitoring policy, because we can control things at our place, but it's very difficult to control कि बाकी लोग क्या देखते हैं. And unfortunately अगर बच्चे ने मान लो देख भी लिया है, if the बच्चा sees something in any other one's phone, and if you have been doing a good upbringing where you have been very open with the child, then definitely the child will come and ask you कि मम्मा मैंने वो फोन में ऐसा सब कुछ चल रहा था, so what exactly is that, and then you have to answer it for sure. So that's the way how it is. मतलब it's basically a chain of how you have been doing the upbringing, ऐसा नहीं है कि हम बीच में से शुरू कर दें, और बीच में से भी करें तो स्टार्टिंग से करना पड़ेगा.
Many times the child comes and says, "Hey, listen, in the apartment building, I saw this driver and that lady talking like this," and they pick up language from them. They pick up
True.
uh, um, behavior from these
Slangs from them. Correct.
slangs. And how do you deal with it?
Correct. Again, you'll have to accept that this happens. The first thing of parenting is that even if you're a very good parent, mistakes, I wouldn't say even mistakes, issues can happen, right? So you should never be, questioning your parenting. That's the first thing. It should not be like कि मैं अच्छा parent नहीं हूँ. Of course, you're a good parent. That's why the child came to you and asked for the same thing. That's the first symbol. So first of all, accept that it can happen. All these issues can happen due to overexposure. Second thing is, just sit with the child and listen to the child what is exactly happening out there. Like, is it a slang, or is it an abuse, or is it an visual? When you ask the child about all the information, firstly you have to sit and just confirm with the child, just affirm with the child that using such words is firstly unnecessary, and secondly it can harm someone else's mindset. So of course when you create that boundary of respect, कि देखो मैंने आपको ऐसा नहीं बोला तो आपको भी मुझको ऐसा नहीं बोलना. So हो सकता है उन्होंने ऐसा बोला बट आप नहीं बोलोगे because that is going to disrespect someone. That is the third thing. You have to kind of clinch everything to the word respect and boundaries. Fourth, at the same time, when you take all that information from the child, you should also be monitoring that why such a thing is happening around in the society. And then of course the community, the entire community should sit and discuss about the solution. Maybe you have to, make that person suspend or somewhere from the society, talk to the person, or all of these kind of things should happen.
One from Mr. Rajesh Parmar. One girl of class 6 came to me and asked me that her friend was bleeding of blood of periods, but she didn't have any precautions. Precautions. As a male teacher, I sent her a female teacher. I think that female teacher should have more attachment with girls so that they fearlessly can approach the teacher. Okay, this is a statement. Another statement or question that we read from Aisha. Good session. Thank you. Just want to ask this: if child won't share anything with us, he had sexual harassment with others, if he had shared sexual harassment with others, then how should we deal with it?
I didn't get the exact question. Please can you repeat
Assuming a
it?
child has gone through sexual harassment but is
Okay.
refusing to share, how do you deal?
Okay. Okay. So this question basically comes under the category that if you're suspicious about a child who has been abused, but you're not sure about it, right? So if you're suspicious about it, then the best way is to have open conversation with the child, not close conversation, like open conversation. For example, you see a case happening in the society, or maybe in the news somewhere, it's a hot topic. Then maybe you can go to the child and sit with the child that, oh, did you read about this, because it's a hot topic, and maybe start a conversation with the child that this keeps happening, and then you can also make it more familiar by giving real examples. If you had been a victim of CSA, narrate your example. If you know someone that the child also knows, then you can narrate their incident as well. Then you can also tell them through the stories that how they overcame it. How that particular person was starting very unsure about it. They were very fearful about it, because you exactly know बच्चा भी वैसा feel कर रहा है. So you kind of replicate the same emotion you feel जो बच्चा feel कर रहा है to that story, एंड देन धीरे धीरे यू हैव टू टेक दैट कन्वर्सेशन वंस इन अ वाइल. जैसे आपने 2-3 दिन में कोई और कन्वर्सेशन कर ली, और उसके बाद दोबारा रिपीट कर दी, देन इवेंचुअली द चाइल्ड विल फील कंफर्टेबल कि अच्छा मम्मा के साथ भी ऐसा हो रखा है, मम्मा को आई कैन टेल. अच्छा चाची के साथ ऐसा हो रखा है, आई कैन टेल मम्मा आल्सो, क्योंकि चाची ने भी मुझको ऐसा बताया हुआ. सो दीस काइंड ऑफ स्टोरी टेलिंग्स सर्टेनली हेल्प्स.
If a baby or a child is playing with their private parts or trying to touch the parts of other children, how do you deal with it?
This would have the exact same answer when you told me if a child is touching someone's breast. The exact same answer.
And
This also needs to be handled in the same exact way. Like, you should not shun the child. The child is just exploring. Like, it's a very simple process that a child, when is very young, has no kind of overexposure, or even if a bit of overexposure, the child is still exploring body parts. Just imagine, I have a niece who is 10-year-old month, So I know she's exploring her body parts, touching hair, touching my beard, touching my face. So children, when they are, even when children are into schools, they are not educated about body parts until they are in maybe third class or fourth class. I am not sure about that. So till the age of 9, they need to explore it because that's their body. So any kind of activity they do, Shivani, is just out of curiosity. So they should not be shunned away from that.
Okay. What happens when your teenage child wants to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? And what are the boundaries that we need to set for them at different age groups?
Correct. It's totally fine to have relationships. You should not shun away your children from not having relationships. But the boundary you should be setting is that, it's a very fascinating thing that children will test your boundaries as well. They're very clever. They'll try to push you a lot. For example, recently, I think few months back, when a parent told me that what was happening is that the girl was telling that she wants to have a boyfriend. She's meeting him today at a lonely place somewhere where no one is. And then she told her parents that I would love to have sex with them also. So now the parents would usually get very furious about it. But this first instinct is to get angry, but that is something you should not be doing. You should take just a deep breathe and just imagine when you were young, you also had all these questions, and you also expected an adult to be helpful to you. So just be the same adult which you wanted when you were a child. That is the first thing. Now, second thing is how you can answer to this question is that firstly, when you are into relationships, girlfriend, boyfriend especially, they should not be meeting at a lonely place. Now, why that is because if they meet at a lonely place, they'll start with hugging, and then the child will say, "Don't worry, I'll not kiss because I have my self control." Okay? Then they'll hug, and then they might get involved into sex. Now, the important thing here to address is that you should be telling children that self control is not something which is in your control, unfortunately, when it comes to intimate situations, because a lot of stimulation hormones are being released when you even touch each other. So you might unintentionally end up doing things which are not appropriate for you, and you might also end up getting pregnant, which is not biologically right for your body right now. And for that, then you'll have to go to medical things, hospitals, and it would be very triggering and very stressful for you. Second thing is, if you meet someone at a lonely place, there are also chances of getting sexually abused. So when you try to teach children from this perspective that it's fine, you want to meet, just meet at a cafe, or invite the boy home or the girl home. We can sit. You can have your personal space in the room. We won't be interrupting you, but at least have them around somewhere where they can be safe. Now, yeah,
So they come home. Most homes are apartments. So they go to their bedroom and their bedroom doors are locked. What is it appropriate for us to tell them, hey, listen, keep the doors open? How do we deal with that?
they should not be locking the doors. Of course, they can shun their doors and they can talk. We can give them the privacy, of course, but they should not be locking the doors. And of course, when such situations happen, you can create a boundary for you and the parent, for you and the child as well. Because what you can say is that if I am agreeing to this certain extent, that I am agreeing that you can have a boyfriend, you can invite the person home, you can talk to them, you can have privacy. If I am doing so much to this extent, then there are few things that you will also agree to me on the extent, like not shutting the door. Okay? And also checking your boundaries of not getting too intimate, because that would create a problem for you only. Because when you create such an environment, Shivanaji, what the child feels that whatever you're saying is just for the well-being of the child, and not that you don't care much about the society, just the well-being. So they'll get into conflicts.
What these days, kids, the parents, we as parents, we have no idea how to deal with them. At what age can we say, yes, you can have a girlfriend, or no, you cannot have a boyfriend? At what age is this possible?
So this is the very interesting question, but this question, first asks me the root question that what is a girlfriend, what is a boyfriend. So first, you and the child should clear kind of these out. What's a girlfriend? What's a boyfriend? Usual friends, right? Like even if they're in second class, they can still hug a girl. If they feel comfortable, they can peck a girl on the face, or they can peck each other on the face. That's a normal way of greeting, right? So the question is that what exactly do you mean? Like, what exactly do you want to be asking me when you say girlfriend or boyfriend? Like, do you mean about getting sexual, or what exactly it is? Because if it is getting sexual, then until they're below 18, they should not have any girlfriend boyfriend. Because if that's a definition of girlfriend boyfriend, but if that's not the definition, then I think as early as possible, because they're just normal friends. I feel just respecting those boundaries and not getting too intimate.
Okay, one, Miss Roshni Panchal, thanks to your organization and the informative resource person for the informative session that will help each participant. There's one more from Miss Sabita Shetty. Do children have a natural instinct of something not being right with a certain touch?
Yes, yes, yes. Indeed, they do.
Okay. Another thing that we've noticed is that there is a difference between children being raised in urban areas and children being raised in rural areas. Things are taboo in smaller communities. Things are not so taboo in urban areas. So a child coming from a rural setup into an urban setup or into a school, also, how do we educate them that, hey, this is okay to have a girlfriend, but these are the boundaries, and you need to maintain these boundaries? How do you explain it to people coming from a conservative background?
See, it's very difficult. So now, if you mean a conservative family, then it's a different situation. If you mean to say a family that who is even having a hard time to earn their bread, then it's a different situation, because people who are going through poverty and who are poor, for them this might not even be a concern. Their concern is to just have some money and just eat some food before sleeping. So for them, those children, it would be a bit hard to right away explain about these concepts of girlfriend and boyfriend. You need to have to lay a foundation of other very feasible and accepting concepts first, and then maybe you can come to these topics, because for them this would not be a concern. But if I talk about other families, if I talk about urban families, who still have can earn and everything much, we can of course have different workshops for them, again on consent and everything, where we can tell them the this concept of boundaries and boyfriends and girlfriends. But before you do that, we will first have to sensitize parents, बिकॉज नहीं तो पेरेंट्स स्कूल में आएंगे और दे डू प्रोटेस्ट कि तुमने मेरे बच्चों को ऐसे कैसे बता दिया बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड रख लो. So they also need to be informed that such things are going to happen. So that's why Shivani ji, it makes it even more complex कि आपको पहले पेरेंट्स को ट्रेन करना पड़ेगा एंड देन बच्चों को करना पड़ेगा.
So I think we are at the end of all our questions. That was a very insightful session, very useful for someone so young, and you've gone on to such an important topic, and contributing to this topic is amazing. Just wanted to ask you, what is this Kashmir issue? And last question.
Okay, so do you mean Kathua rape case when I
Yes,
started?
yes.
So there was a rape case which happened in Kathua in January 2018. What happened was a Hindu girl was she was sexually abused. It's a trigger warning for everyone out there. So the 8-year-old girl was sexually abused and raped multiple times in a Hindu temple by 6 Muslim culprits. Why I mentioned the religion is because that's why the case got viral, because it happened in a temple, and then it was culprit and victim were from different regions, and that to Hindu Muslim. So the case got really viral, and even the identity of the child was revealed. And you would be surprised to know that a lot of people, were typing on pornography websites regarding Asiya rape case videos. So people wanted to see the videos.
Oh dear.
So that spoke a lot about the mindset. Even on a lot of pornography websites, this keyword was trending, because people were not concerned about justice, they were concerned about the way they can see the videos. So that time I was I was very very pushed hard about all these situations. And of course I was a very young emotional boy. I am still an emotional guy, and I always wanted to work on this issue of rape prevention. It's just that I was not grown up and I didn't know how to start. But that was kind of a very strong triggering point for me to do something about it. That was the entire case. What happened?
Thank you so much.
I'm
One.
so glad. I'm, I'm so glad and honored. Thank you so much, Srishan.
Thank you, Rahul. The
Thanks.
work you're doing, it's very inspiring. I feel a little sad that there's not many organizations like yours doing the similar kind of work in our country. You told that there's like 15 to 20 organizations. That's like way too less for the amount of incidents that's happening in today's day. The cases are just increasing. Um, it's very surprising what I just heard right now about the Katma rape case and pornographic website. It's very shocking indeed. And I hope we get out of this stage soon, and our country kind of, progresses towards better things and safer well-being for our children, future generations. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Definitely.
the insightful webinar. It was a pleasure having you. Anyone who has missed the starting part of the talk can go to YouTube and check out the live section and can see the whole talk. We will be re-uploading the whole talk after editing it as well. Um, Join us, follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all other social media and platforms. Do visit our website as well. Check out the other campaigns, material campaigns, fundraising campaigns going on the website. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for attending.